The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. When the days drew near for him to be taken up, Jesus set his face to go to Jerusalem, and he sent messengers ahead of him. On their way, they entered a village of the Samaritans to make ready for Jesus. But the Samaritans did not receive him, because his face was set toward Jerusalem. When his disciples James and John saw it, they said, "Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" But Jesus turned and rebuked them. Then they went on to another village. As they were going along the road, someone said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." To another Jesus said, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead. But as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God." Another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me say farewell to those at my home." Jesus said to him, "No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." The Gospel of the Lord. One of the joys for me about being a priest is helping to prepare couples for the sacrament of marriage. Now, I know that probably sounds ridiculous to most people, perhaps even to some of you. I mean, what on God's good earth does some 30-something-year-old celibate priest possibly have to teach a couple preparing for a life of marriage together? Believe me, I get it. Yet, the Catholic Church is still one of the few institutions out there that actually requires that couples undergo some sort of formal preparation before getting married. And I think why people scoff at this idea of a priest having anything to do with preparing a couple for marriage beyond the logistics of the wedding ceremony is that people don't actually understand what marriage preparation is supposed to be. Marriage preparation is not supposed to be some kind of comprehensive, everything you need to know about marriage before you get married package. It would be the height of arrogance for anyone, forget priests, even for married people, to claim that they can offer such a comprehensive preparation to anyone else. Every marriage is going to be different, because every person is different. But in the mind of the Church, marriage preparation is actually pretty simple and has a pretty limited scope. Marriage preparation is a ministry, not a certification. The Code of Canon Law describes marriage preparation simply as a form of pastoral assistance offered to the faithful. Instruction about the meaning of Christian marriage, about the roles of Christian spouses and parents, and personal preparation for the holiness and duties that this new state in life will bring the couple. And I think, at least, those three things, the meaning of Christian marriage, the roles of Christian spouses and parents, and preparation for the holiness and duties that it will bring, are well within the Church's realm of competence. Because this isn't just about preparing for married life together, which thankfully we do now have some professional-grade resources to offer couples these days, but this is about preparing for the sacrament of marriage, for the vocation from God that is Christian marriage. Earlier this week, I had met with a couple to go through just one of these professional-grade resources that is available both for engaged couples as well as for married couples, called Prepare Enrich. This resource does not pretend to impart knowledge or fix any of your problems. The one goal of this resource is to facilitate better communication between the couple about various topics that are important to marriage and that need to be talked about sometimes. Things like communication, conflict resolution, partner style and habits, financial management, parenting expectations, leisure activities, marriage expectations, relationship roles, intimacy and affection, health and wellness, family and friends, and spiritual beliefs. And it was that last section, spiritual beliefs, that the couple I was helping to facilitate these conversations with said that the fact that they both agreed that we share very similar spiritual beliefs actually made them kind of sad. Now, I thought that was a bit odd. I mean, you'd think that would be a bonus, sharing similar spiritual beliefs, which would make things easier. But they continued. They said they both felt that when they answered that they share the same spiritual beliefs, what they were saying is that they felt like they were in a similar spot in their spiritual journey. That back in university, when they were more actively involved with their faith, they tried to pray every day. They had a supportive group of friends with whom they could talk about faith and life. And they remembered back when they were going to Mass every Sunday that they did feel more at peace and less worried about things, and that there was more to life than the next exam or next paycheck and how to spend it. But at the present, they were feeling more distant from their faith. And although they both wanted to get more into their faith, they said that they often say it, but it doesn't necessarily translate into doing anything about it. At that moment, I decided to share with them what I feel is a pretty impactful demonstration that I had learned from a marriage prep course I occasionally help out with called Catholic Engaged Encounter. This demonstration, I think, explains very clearly the difference between an ideal and a value. And it goes like this. The person leading the demonstration asks the participants, if you think that regular exercise is important for your health, please stand up. And generally everyone stands up. Then the leader says, if you exercise at least 3 times a week, remain standing. Everyone else sit down. And people do sit down. There's some giggling, there's some sheepish looks, there's some smiles of vindication on the part of those who actually put the effort into it. And then the leader invites everyone to sit down. You see, because everyone who stood up the first time, for those who think regular exercise is important for your health, for these people, exercise is an ideal. We think it's important. But everyone who remained standing, those who actually put the effort into exercising at least 3 times a week, for them, exercise is not just an ideal, not just something they think is important, but a value. Something they're willing to sacrifice for. That is the difference between an ideal and a value. Are you willing to sacrifice to uphold this or not? This example actually resonated strongly with one person in the couple who actually does exercise at least 3 times a week. And this person said sometimes they really, really don't want to go, but they just make themselves go. And when they get out and exercise, they do feel better. And that's really what today's readings are about. Today's readings are all about meaningful discipleship. Like my friends preparing for marriage, who, by the way, gave me permission to share this story with you, we all think that our faith is important, or else you wouldn't be here today. But the question for us, I think, the readings present to us is, what place does being a disciple, being someone who follows Jesus, actually have among the values we want to uphold? Perhaps those of you who are married can correct this ignorant 30-something-year-old celibate priest if I am sorely mistaken. But in marriage, you cannot do all the things you want to do. You do have to decide, hopefully together, what your core values are. And sometimes it will involve a sacrifice in order to make them happen. So the question I think the readings are presenting to us is being a disciple, is following Jesus among your core values, or is it just an ideal? Certainly, my friends, the engaged couple, will not be able to live out their faith the way they did in university. That chapter has come to a close. But the gifts they received from God then, the love, joy, and peace that they experienced, the meaning that living their faith enriched their lives with, were real, and they were longing to have that again. And thanks be to God, they decided that evening that a living faith was in fact a core value they wanted to uphold and pass on to their children. And they looked at each other and smiled and said, "Let's go to Mass on Sunday."